Unfortunately, the day after tomorrow is the earliest I could give you the attention you and your ideas deserve. The day after tomorrow, that's acceptable. Thank you for your understanding. Even though I fully expect my father to work himself into an early grave, I'll need a bit more time to make arrangements for his burial. Rowan smiles easily, but despite his confidence and aplomb, he can't hide the crooked knot in his tie or stray loose buttons on his cuffs. I wonder if he's taking his father's death worse than he appears. I mean, yeah, sometimes it's like that. Like, for instance, I am more the logical type of person. So when I have situations like this in my family, I already had some. And I don't know if Rowan is like that or not, but by what she's implying in here, I'm more like Rowan. Like, I'm the type of person, I try to be more cold about it, but sometimes internally you are kind of like, processing everything, and then things like stray loose buttons and things like that kind of happen. You are kind of like trying to hold yourself together, like inside of you. Though I still don't see why the police would be so interested in a jeweler's natural death, no matter how untimely. You have my sympathies. What time should I meet you then? You're pretty forward, I'm not fond of delays unless they are absolutely necessary. A woman of ambition and charm, let's meet at my family's manor after breakfast. It's close to the university and we'll waste less time stepping aside for the coppers. Perfect. I'll look forward to formalizing our partnership then. As will I, Miss Lucie. Rowan bows deeply, raising his face to meet my eyes and flashing that reckless grin of his once more. He certainly inherited his father's sense of flattery. In the window just below the grandfather clock, I noticed Nemo searching for me among the afternoon crowds. I'm not feeling at ease with the police lingering so close by either, so it's time I head back. Thank you again. It's a pleasure to meet you, in spite of the circumstances. I'll take my leave. Of course, and we'll speak again soon. I leave the small meeting room quietly, then hurry down the hall, slip behind the coppers, and grab Nemo by the arm to pull him into an alley. Hey, Lucie, what's going on? Where'd you disappear to? Douglas' office. And you couldn't have just told me where you were going. Something caught my attention. Did you notice the suspicious figure I chased through the alleys last night when you found me? Yeah, because that was me. Oh? Were you trying to catch a burglar to pass the time? That was you? Well, in any case, it wasn't a burglary. In fact, this whole affair might be more involved than I anticipated. Nemo can be overprotective at times, but he knows when to listen, and he's fairly good at it when the mood strikes him. And so he listens as I tell him everything I saw, the condition of Douglas' body, Rowan's sudden appearance, and the murmurs I heard from the police. They wouldn't be putting these many coppers, I think it's coppers? I don't know, because I never actually heard this expression. In fact, I do not know, but it feels more like an English. Isn't this more like an English from England? I mean, type of type of words, coppers to talk about the police. I don't know. They wouldn't be putting this many, I think it's coppers, coppers on the scene if they thought, because coopers is another thing, right? Yeah. They wouldn't be putting this many coppers on the scene if they thought Douglas' death was natural, would they? Probably not. Wouldn't be the first time the coppers rushed to the wrong conclusion, though. I'm sorry if I'm murdering your language. You know it. I always say this. Yeah. They might be certain it's murder, but they are wrong more often than a broken clock. That may be so. You think the coppers might be right? No, but it is strange. Rowan says he's certain that Douglas' death is natural, though he also told me that one of the Douglas colleagues died recently as well. I look up at Nemo and he returns a pensive glare. I know that look pretty well. He's warning me not to dive head first into something dangerous. Yeah, because so there was like another colleague that died, then Douglas died, and the police were like talking about the Fairfield too. So like, something going on here. Right, Elm's twin brother. Well then, what do you think? About Douglas' death? I'm not sure. He looked pallid skin, blood dribbling down his neck, staining his shirt, the emptiness in his eyes. I'm no expert on these things. I didn't see any obvious wounds, at least. Come on, let's get home and get some dinner. Perhaps the coppers are leaping to conclusions, as they often do. I can't deny the shock that Douglas' death has caused me, nor the uncertainty that Rowan's appearance has brought about. Nemo and I talk about possibilities and contingencies for the future business all the way home, not that he knows how to navigate such matters with the requisite delicacy. We part at university gates, and for the next several hours until nightfall I try and fail to find any trace of Elm. What an exhausting day. It feels as though I woke up a full week ago and I've been running without a rest since then. Of everything that happened though, I find that there's one in particular that won't leave my mind. Okay, what worries could be on Cecil's mind as of late? Elm seemed so distraught. I want to check in on him tomorrow. Rowan and his oddly relaxed demeanor, what is he thinking? That handsome fiddler in the town square. I would go more into kind of like checking Elm, or try to understand this, like, who is this mysterious guy? What do you think? Right? Maybe like more something like that? Do we want to go into something that we know nothing about, or just I don't know. Yeah, maybe, because I don't know nothing about this guy. That fiddler in the town square was so enchanting in the midst of tumultuous day. That brief moment when I listened to their performance was a desperately needed respite. So, but there was like another moment where she was like hearing a violin. When was it? Before this town square thing. Wasn't when she was like arriving at her brother's apartment or something like that? I don't know. I'm shocked that I've never seen someone so skilled around the city before. Have they only arrived in Laurenburg recently? I haven't heard of any new performing troupes or orchestral companies passing through. I suppose they could be a lone traveler though. That mask they wear isn't common either. I wonder if... No, that's enough. I can't while away the night daydreaming about handsome musicians, for heaven's sake. If I'm fortunate, perhaps I'll hear their music again. For now, though, I should rest and recover from today's events. Thinking any further will only tie my brain into knots, and I've not the time to untangle that. And more than that, even these thoughts can keep the ghastly image of Douglas' lifeless face from intruding into my memory. Sleep will help, yes, I'll help, and I can only hope that tomorrow is a calmer day. Transitions really do take their time in here. Nostalgia can be an insidious thing. It's all too easy to hold fondness for memories when the pain of the moment dulls and you remember only the simple sweetness and thrills. On particularly bright summer mornings, I catch myself getting wistful as I think about the time I spent darting through empty classrooms on campus, hiding out in hay lofts and scoring back alleys while I searched for answers. In spite of any excitement I felt 5 years ago when Cecil and I planned stakeouts to search for my parents' killer, my memory of that time is still stained with tears. Yeah, we do not know nothing about that because we did not play the other game. But apparently Cecil was with us on the other one. Whenever I feel a nostalgic pang as I pass by a classroom and recall the fun I had roaming free in Laurenburg, I remember how many nights I spent crying myself into restless sleep. I don't even remember my parents properly, and just learning of their deaths devastates me. Tears and clenching fists and bared fangs and reckless adventure all led me to an even more painful answer in the end. Grief never follows a convenient course, and there are rarely simple villains whose dispatch will close all your open wounds. Elm and Rowan lost their father just hours ago, a father they both knew and spoke to every day. Yeah, but we do not know what type of relationship they had. I mean, imagine that you have a father that keeps ignoring you, What type of relationship are you going to have with that type of person, although he's like a parent? No, perhaps that's not right. I don't actually know anything about Elm's relationship to his family, do I? In all the time we've known one another, he never mentioned that he has a twin or that his father was a prospective business partner of mine. I'm sure I mentioned the deal to him at least once while we were studying after class. In all the time we've known one another, he never mentioned that he has a twin. Sorry, I was going back to the beginning. See, like, this is what happens because I looked to the left side for the visual thing, and when I came back, I was like up there again. Yeah. So for me, like the game, I'm not disliking it, but for me myself personally, the game has like some, I don't know, issues. But I think it's more in terms of ratio, proportion ratio in here. Rowan's face keeps coming to mind as well. He was charming, inviting even. Also this font could be less straining on the eye. If I hadn't seen his father's corpse moments before we met, I might have even had butterflies in my stomach. That familiar mixture of confusion, excitement, and mystery on the edge of terror fills in the space between my thoughts again. Sitting at the front of the classroom, I can't keep the world of memories and curiosity from distracting me. If Rowan was so unfazed and moved on so quickly from his father's death, was their relationship really that bad? If so, then why is Elm so distraught? Even now I can tell he's barely paying any attention to the professor, though if he's close to his father, why has he never mentioned either his family or his siblings? Of course, the most salacious possibility could be true. I already entertained and dismissed the notion that Rowan had killed his father to take over the family business and that Elm was living in fear of what might happen to him in the aftermath. It was my first and immediate suspicion after leaving Douglas' office, but Nemo and I both agreed that it was unlikely, at least. If Rowan were the killer, he could have chosen a far more convenient time and method that would draw less suspicion onto himself. I'm not fully convinced that he is innocent, of course, but I like to believe him. Perhaps I'm just extending goodwill. Oh, perhaps I'm just extending goodwill to him because of my concern of Elm. That will be all for today. We'll be discussing the next treatise on currency exchange later this week, and you may call upon me if you have questions in the meantime. Dismissed. Elm, wait there. Yesterday I met your twin, Rowan. A twin brother, truly. Elm, why didn't you tell us? Does he attend school here too? I didn't. There's been a lot happening lately. Yeah, I heard about your father. Elm, I'm sure you've had your reasons, but why did you keep all that a secret from us? I may be entering into a business with your brother, and I want to know. I stopped suddenly, and the rails of my thoughts vanished beneath me. What am I expecting of him now? What is it that I really want to know? I don't know. Elm looks exhausted and anxious. There's a miserable icy weight in the pit of my stomach, and why do I feel so incensed? Okay. Like I would put another word in there, not actually that one. Kind of strange. It's nothing worth mentioning. We should get going. There's another class coming in soon, and... Elm, is that true? Wait a moment. Lucie, do you mean that scoundrel who stood you up is Helm's father? I'm sorry, I need to go. There's an appointment and... Elm backs away as he stammers out his words, his eyes never meeting my own. I reach to grab his shoulders, but he's even quicker than I expected. He leaves Cecil and I standing in the midst of the other students filtering through the classroom door like water over a weir. Let's follow him. I'm worried about where he might wander. I think I'll leave him to you, Lucie. Cecil gives me a sheepish smile and ducks away. I forgot something earlier, so I'll stop by town to fetch it. Don't wait up for me. What did you forget? I can lend you my books if you need. Why is he stepping away? I don't think Cecil is even listening by now. Is he anxious about excavating Elm's family secrets? He hurries away, waving an apology as he goes. What the heck, dude? Wait, Cecil! He doesn't wait though. There was soot on his knuckles. Really? That closes off any room for doubt. He's absolutely hiding something, and knowing Cecil, he's liable to get in over his head before he realizes he should ask for help. Well, I'm not about to let him leave at that. Expecting that I can see him already making his way into the hall, if I lose sight of him now, I may not be able to find him again until the day after tomorrow. So what was Cecil digging? I don't know. I'm still kind of curious about Elm, but I don't think he's going to open up to us. He doesn't seem the kind. As much as I'd like to know what's got Cecil rushing off so suddenly, I know he'll tell me in time. Elm, though... He should be only a few paces down the hall, and he isn't even walking quickly, but every step towards him feels like I'm walking through lapping waves. I'm anxious. I was too focused to notice it sooner, and now I've only got the span of a few yards to think of what I'll say. I need to know why he kept his twins' existence secret, but what do I say to someone who lost their father just 2 nights past? Wait, where's he gone? I only hesitated for a moment. He's probably on his way back to his manor, right? Elm. Elm! No reply, though I expected as much. I'm not in shoes built for sprinting, but I can manage 100 yards at least. I recall the directions Rowan gave me well enough. I should be able to follow the roads there and catch Elm along the way. Unless he's running at a breathless pace, I should at least be able to catch sight of him before he shuts himself away, and I can easily keep up this moderate pace for longer if I need to. But I don't. There's no reason to keep running. I move past a pair of sullen, downcast faces beneath a blooming lilac arbor, and I stop. I'm not out of breath, but I still feel my pulse quicken. I sit down beside the stoic marble bust of one of the university's founders on a short pedestal, and I look up through the vines. Perhaps Ambrose was right. There are things I might miss if I rush too quickly straight ahead. The flowers here are lovely. They only bloom for a day or two. They'll be gone once the storm passes through. Beside me, Elm's face is just as graven and dark as the statues keeping watch throughout the garden. His voice doesn't carry a tremor, and it's softer than usual, almost weary. A shame then. I'm sure Ambrose wouldn't mind if we cut a few to keep before the wind carries them off. Whether the headmaster minds or not, I don't think your brother would let you steal the gardener's shears again. The next thought doesn't form completely in my mind. Helm and I both linger uncomfortably for a moment. Helm tenses briefly as I reach up. For now, I'll have to do without asking about Rowan. I pinch the stem of a lilac high on the arbor, twist it swiftly, and snap it off the vine. I offer it to Elm, rightly proud of myself. I don't need to steal anyone's shears, unfortunately. It seems you don't, Lucie. He's smiling, at least a little, which is significant for someone like him. So, Elm takes in slow breath. You heard that my father died the night before last. Yes, I'm sorry. No. It's not... I didn't expect it. I thought it wouldn't happen for decades more. Maybe he is a vampire, too. My father wasn't the most present man. He worked from before sunup to long after sundown, week upon week. He especially threw himself into work over the past several years. I always thought he would work away his grief in time. His grief. I wanted to talk to him. It was today that we were supposed to meet. You don't have to say more than you like. If you do want to talk about your father, though, I've got a better set of ears than the founders. I tilt my head toward the marble bust beside us, and Elm chuckles lightly. So he was probably like talking to her, but looking at the statues, and that's why she was kind of like being sarcastic about it. They are attentive, at least. Or maybe he just goes there a lot of times to talk to himself, let's say it, in front of the statues. Maybe it's more like that. With some effort, Elm rises to his feet and accepts the lilac I plucked, as he does. The sight of him bringing the petals up to his nose, smiling at the sand, and then placing the flower in his breast pocket is unexpectedly beautiful. I'm sorry I've been avoiding you and Cecil lately. Would you like to walk with me for a while? What? Oh yes, by all means. Thank you for the flower and coming to find me. I hope you didn't expect I'll let you languish here on your own. Cecil would have come with me too, but he had something urgent to attend. Something which I'm going to ask him about tonight. Why did he rush off like that? And these vines are so old and well tended, I doubt even a hurricane could stop them from blooming year after year. If only it were that easy for us. I can hear bitterness pulling down Elm's quiet laughter. We walk on through the garden and soon through the university gates and into town. I take Helm's arm once we're in the midst of the afternoon crowds. He's always a little stiff in these moments. I think he's never been accustomed to human touch. He's told me that he doesn't dislike it in theory, but when anyone else touches his arm or shoulder, it makes him keenly aware of his own body in a way he's rarely pleased with. He's a virgin. That tells it. I suppose I can understand. I've heard some people, they are young, right? I think they are probably young. I suppose I can understand. I've heard some people experience this when they turn into vampires and suddenly have a heightened awareness of themselves, including any misgivings or anxieties they might have. Oh, they are like giving us another type of meaning to it. Okay. In Elm's case, though, I always wondered if it wasn't just that he spent so much time in his own mind that he rarely gives his body a second thought. Time slips by us slowly as if we're swimming against its flow, walking slowly as the sun drops towards the rooftops of Laurenburg. Once 3 summers passed, Cecil and I walked with Elm through these streets. I forget if we even had a goal or if we were just enjoying a carefree afternoon browsing the storefronts and window displays. We stopped by a clockmaker, one of those old shops with yellowed windows and a faded sign above the door. The brass handle on its entrance was smooth and worn from the weight of thousands of hands. Elm stood there, transfixed and singularly focused on an open pendulum clock with its shifting gears. A small city moved around its base with porcelain carriages and ladies beneath lace parasols, shifting at each quarter hour. See, we continue to have it's good, it's fine, as I told you. We continue to have a lot of narration compared to dialogues. It's a lot of narration. And we're not even just talking about one phrase here or there. We're talking about whole paragraphs. Have you noticed that? Look at it, you two. He barely spoke above a whisper. Isn't it wondrous to see every part laid out and fit together so finely? Cecil eagerly agreed, and the two spent a fair while excitedly chattering about the marvels of precision engineering, though Helm didn't seem as taken with the fine embellishments. Rather than decoration on each piece, Helm stared at the whole mechanism as if he were gazing at the night and mapping every star. It's laid out and plain to see, every piece and part in harmony. I can almost hear his words from all those years past as clear as the chime of that clock. He's certainly a strange fellow, but a reliable friend and steady presence. Perhaps that's why seeing him so shocked has left me unnerved as well. Up ahead of us, a young couple walks away from a alleyway stall with absolute glee. A middle-aged man with a brilliant sapphire necklace and matching cuff links his waving goodbye to his last customer and beckons Elm over with the same motion. His table is full of rings and pendants, all set with enormous gems, which is why I'm confident he's a thief or a counterfeiter. Yes, welcome. You two seem to be enjoying yourselves, so I not get something for your boo there. Like a boo. It's like you're a beautiful girl. Let's put it like that. My jaw nearly drops, but mostly because of the quality of the gems in front of me. There's a topaz nearly the size of my thumb, and without a single impurity. I would, but I forgot my wallet. A blatant lie, and why did he think I was the bull? Oh, come on now, you might think these are a princess treasure, but I assure you they are most reasonable than you expect. You see, sir and madam, these are all reconstructed rubies. We've concocted them in test tubs and grown them to tremendous size, all for less than a miner's monthly wage. Oh, so that's it. Thank you, but we'll be on our way. Reconstructed rubies. Ah, cog your eyes. Yes, you see, these are a marvel of modern scientific ingenuity. I'm familiar. Elm, I've borrowed a book on the process, if you'd like to see it, back at the campus library. They are lovely. Oh no, it looks like he's taken with a pair of ruby hairpins and hasn't caught my meaning. Yes, indeed, a perfect pair of identical hairpins. See how finely the silver filigree fits the precise cut of the ruby, like stars blossoming on a vine. The perfect gift for a lady with beautiful hair. Truly a lovely set, wouldn't you say? They'll be lovelier if one of them wasn't fake. I thought I'll mutter under my breath, too quiet for anyone but Elm to hear, but judging by the color now draining from his face, I must have been louder than I intended. The vendor squints at me and leans far over the table, thrusting the hairpins towards me. Young miss, why not try them on? No, think. Wait, the gems may well be synthetic, but the settings here are finely crafted, and that's a high grade of silver too. The ornamentation on my hairpin is worth more than he's charging for the pair. Lucie? I see, yes, you are taken by their beauty as well, aren't you? Go ahead, try them on. I guarantee you, I've got the finest synthesized gems in all the city. No, you haven't. What was that now? Just as I thought, his cheery demeanor only held up while he thought we might still be gullible. He strayed out his honeyed flattery for a sailor's rasp. Unfortunately for him, I've spent weeks reading the latest chemical research into synthesizing gems. Fortunate for both of us, really. He's either a thief or a counterfeiter, and either way, he's drastically overestimating just how large synthetic gems can grow with the latest technologies. If I'm not mistaken, I think some of these pieces are worth far more than you're asking. You should get them appraised. Otherwise, I'm afraid you might be losing a fortune. Thank you for the offer, but we'll be on our way. Elm has shaken out the distraction on his face, and he shoots a sharp glare at the vendor before we walk away. Now, you listen here. Whoa. He's grabbing... No, like, ow. Right there. Ow, he's grabbing my wrist with a vice grip. Sometimes I need to think about how to say this. I hear you slander my goods. Apologize. Should I apologize for being too generous? Clearly you don't know what you've got your hands on. Let go of her. Elm immediately wrests the man's arm away and stands between the two of us. It's amusing to see the older man shrivel under Elm's gaze. I didn't realize he could be so intense, if I'm being honest. They stare one another down for a moment before the vendor, or thief, more likely, lowers his hand and steps back. Lucie, let's go. Yes, and quickly. Elm turns down the street and I glance back at the likely thief as we go. I only notice the glint of a blade when he's already rushing up to Elm. Elm hasn't noticed the vendor charging, and I expect the older man thinks he'll catch us out easily. I think Elm suffered enough recently, and this shoddy cat could stand to suffer a bit more. I don't have my full vampiric strength back just yet, but I should be more than quick enough to twist the knife from his hands. Ah, let go of me! And more than strong enough to throw him through that collection of stolen baubles he's trying to peddle. Ah! I'll thank you not to trouble us further. Lucie, you... Wrench! Slanderer! I'll have the coppers on you. Not likely, considering how shady your own business is. He's still scrambling up to his feet and shouting, but I've already thrown his knife up onto a nearby rooftop, so I doubt he'll be much threat to us. Pompous vampires don't look down on me. In a bitter fit, he throws a large emerald brooch at me and it hits my neck with a dull thud. I flinch, expecting a flash of light and a searing pain, but nothing happens. The brooch falls to the ground and the stone cracks on impact. Well, would you like to ruin any of your other merchandise while you are at it? Leave me be, wretched cretins! Scrambling like a squirrel, cog on sleek eyes, the man scoops his wares into a satchel and rushes away into a nearby building. He's certainly up to no good, and I'll be remiss to let him go after hurling such a sharp brooch at me. That was heavy, you know. Come on, Elm. We can let him get away. We can't let him, sorry. Wait. Just as I take off after the suspicious vendor, Elm grabs my hand to stop me. For a moment, I can speak as we both realize how tightly our hands are clasped together. We separate shortly after, though it's hard to meet his eyes until we begin walking back to campus. Helm's footsteps are steady as a pendulum, but his face isn't nearly as easy to read as a clock. Does he also feel a faint warmth clinging to his fingers? The sun is starting to singe my eyes, so I duck into the shade of a tree. Helm is staring at me, I realize. He's been staring for some time, and his gaze is almost as bright as the sunlight. What is it? Are you a vampire? Yes? I'm almost unsure how to answer. Am I a vampire right now? I know some of my strength is returning, and I can tell that my senses are sharper, especially with the afternoon sun feeling like a blinding flash out in the open. Is that all it takes for me to return to being a vampire, though? 5 years of steady doses with pure emerald pills, and then after missing just one, I already start to show signs of vampirism again. If that's truly the case, then I'll need to adjust my estimates for treatment plans. It may be more of a chronic condition that needs steady maintenance rather than a condition you can easily reverse or undo. And you have been all this time? He sounds eager, almost excited. I haven't seen him so rapt in attention since he helped the professor explain the origins of modern economic models. I sigh to myself. it would be better to explain the whole of it to him. I mean, I thought he already knew because they kind of like gave us the sensation that they knew each other from maybe the other game. I see, you mentioned your work and business plans before, but I didn't know you were testing the cure on yourself. It was my brother's idea, though now that I know just how quickly the effects can fade, I might thank him for being so insistent. Ah, was this testing? This? When you didn't take your last pill, was that part of your test of the treatment? Was it? What were my thoughts the night before last, when I stared at my pill bottle before setting it back down and open? To be honest, for me it was kind of like that. I was like, she told us that she was like taking it for years and years, and I was kind of curious. I kind of chose the vampire one because I was like, I'm kind of curious to see how she acts and reacts. And then I started seeing that maybe it would be kind of like cool to prove, you know, our theory pills to the others, you know, as, you know, us being the one that would take it to prove it. I just wanted to see how it felt again. I don't know, I'm still not sure. Yes, I needed to see how long it took for the cure to... I would prefer to pick this one. I needed to see how quickly the effects faded, or if they faded at all. I was half convinced that I would simply be a human forever, though apparently it's a more persistent condition than I thought. I mean, although when you create a pill or some kind of medicine, you wouldn't take 5 years to actually see how long the pills would last, right? That would be some kind of conclusion you would actually take right at the beginning. I mean, you would even like do a test like, oh, I'm going to take it for 1 week, see the results, and then I'm going to take them out and see for how long I can last without them too. And you understand, like, those are things that you kind of do at the beginning. It's not after 5 years that you're going to try to understand how the pills really work, right? Unless you want to test it like in a way of, in a long term, how is it still effective against the numbers that I had from the earlier stages? Well, that could happen too. I was half convinced that I would simply be a human forever, though apparently it's a more persistent condition than I thought. So you don't plan to remain a vampire then? I don't, do I? I haven't had the time to think it through properly, though maybe I should make the time sooner rather than later. I could always take a pill tomorrow night to change back. I haven't decided just yet. It's too soon to tell. It's also too soon for me. Like, I would be like, this is just a demo, but I would be probably for longer just to see what kind of consequences. Because what does it imply to be a vampire in this game? You know, each game is different in terms of that. Like when you have like werewolves and vampires, they are always different in terms of how they act and react and all of it. I see. He's staring at me so intently. Does he realize his face is getting so close? That's fascinating. There, he's backing away at last. For someone so quiet and solemn, he's surprisingly bold. He almost seemed entranced. Is he so fascinated by vampires or just by me? I'm glad those synthetic gems didn't have a reaction to you, at least. That brooch would have left a terrible burn if they had. Yes, that was fortunate, to say the least. That street vendor couldn't possibly have had actual synthetic gems, could he? He's likely guilty of more than just a momentary outburst in any case. Those were lovely hairpins, though. Suspiciously lovely. Those gems were clearly fake, and he admitted as much, but the settings were genuine. What was his game? I haven't heard of any schemes of that sort. Perhaps Ambrose and Nemo might have heard something about this. Yeah, like, kind of like remembering something. When I was in the US, I was kind of like, I think it kind of depends. I mean, the US is like so big, you know. But a lot of the times, at least where I was, I felt like I was okay to wear jewelry. In fact, you kind of have like a thing in there of like women wearing diamonds because diamonds are forever and stuff like that, especially when you are like in a real relationship with someone. But back in here, I can tell you that I do not wear any kind of jewelry unless like, you know, fake ones and stuff like that. Yeah, because in here it's like, it's horrible in terms of that. Like you cannot wear nothing because you are going to get robbed. So I always feel like, yeah, they are very pretty and all, but I do not even feel tempted to most of the time to wear jewelry because of that, because I know that there is always like an alley, a corner, whatever, where I might find someone that are usually very well dressed, but they are robbers. Because in here it's like that. They are like wearing brand stuff and all of it, but they are robbers. Yeah, you have a ton of them in here, so I would never wear like really good jewelry or stuff like that. We are finally back in the campus gardens, thankfully. The cool breeze and gentle shade are a relief. Elm's still quiet. He's been staring into the distance for some time now. Well, shall we return inside then? My family. I haven't had the best relationship with the rest of my family for a few years now. It's nothing intriguing or scandalous. My father devoted himself to his work above all else, as I said, and since my mother died, he's barely shared a living space with me, let alone a meal. Now I'm thinking about it. I was telling you this because I think you kind of feel more secure in there, like in the US, because you kind of have like cameras everywhere. So like if someone steals someone, like there's a camera somewhere that the cops can see. But in here, it's not like that. It's not. So they are going to rob you. No one is going to be your witness. No one cares to be your witness. And yeah, you're just going to get robbed. And that's why a lot of like American tourists in here, they come in here with jewelry and they get robbed. It is true. Yeah. Do not bring jewelry to Europe. I'm being honest. Oh, okay, you have places and places in here. But do not bring. This is the best advice that I can give you. Yeah. Because no one is going to witness for you, and we do not have cameras everywhere. No, we don't. So, yeah. You're just going to get robbed, and that's it. And my brother. Elm's eyes dart away, as if he can't help but glance towards the forest on the horizon. He's a fine person. His voice is clearly strained. There's more to this, of course, but I don't want to press him further right now. I may have been too aggressive in questioning him this morning, too focused on the shock of learning of Douglas' death and Helm's relation to him, too oblivious to the pain it was causing Elm. I'm sorry for not telling you about them. It's well within your right. You don't have to say anything more if you'd rather not. He nods slightly, and for a time we simply stand beneath the arbor of lilac blossoms. Tomorrow I'll meet Rowan and discuss a potential business partnership. I should likely ask around about that strange vendor too, in case there's something stirring in the city's jewelry market. For now, however, I can't seem to focus on anything but the odd distance in Elm's face. It's as though he's gone away and left himself here while he visits a memory. A bell chimes and signals the top of the hour, breaking us both free from the garden's calm. I've got to prepare for my meeting with Rowan still, and I'm curious to hear if there's been any word on why the coppers are so interested in Douglas' death. I've got another class, Lucie. His hand slips over mine as he gently pulls his arm away from me. Thank you for finding me here today. Of course. I must look like an utter fool being flustered so easily. Elm's voice is so soothing, I almost forgot myself for a moment. I've got preparations of my own, so we'll speak again tomorrow. Take care, Elm. He nods, though I'm not sure he heard me completely. Night falls quickly and then seems to stretch on for ages. Through Ambrose's dinner of coq au vin and beyond my hurried scrawling on ledger paper it's like when you get into the French and English and stuff like that, scrawling on ledger paper in the law lamplight. I fall into bed just before midnight with very little to show for the hours I spent poring over my correspondence with Douglas. My mind keeps wandering as I read his letters again, as much as Elm and his grief, as to the strange suddenness of Douglas' death. And if that weren't enough to contend with, the odd wares from that vendor this afternoon still bothers me a good deal. Focus. I need to clear my thoughts or I won't be prepared for negotiations with Rowan's tomorrow. I can only hope that sleep finds me soon. The early dawn light casts Rowan and Elm's manor home in a stark silhouette. Its main gate stands open wide and its fences are low, as was the style in centuries past when they were still made of stones quarried from the local cliff sides. A pair of tall cypress trees greet me as I approach the front door, planted on each side of the moss-laden path. The hedges surrounding the main house are trimmed, though not recently, and the grounds orderly but without much ornamentation. The light mist lingering over my feet and the dew clinging to the grass make me feel as if I'm sinking further into the earth with each step. It's quieter than the city proper, which isn't much of a surprise given how close the state is to the dense forests that surround Laurenburg. All of this is well and fine, but the house is still dark and I can't see any sign of movement within. In fact, peering into their dining room now, it looks like they haven't used it in weeks. Well, I suppose Rowan must take breakfast later than most people. No, he's quite an early riser. Who is talking? What? Who's there? Don't just sneak up behind people like that. The gal. Ah, forgive me. I didn't mean to startle you. You must be Miss Lucie, I take it. It's kind of funny that the design seems so different. A gentle, almost grandfatherly voice issues from a spindly older man standing on the manor steps. He's wearing an old but well-tailored suit, and his smile is almost invisible behind a bushy mustache. I'm Willie Ford, a family friend. I suppose that's the best way to put it now. Douglas was my closest friend for years, and now, as you see, well, His voice trembles slightly and he covers the slight crack in his composure with a forced smile. Well, come inside by all means. Rowan has told me that he's expecting you. And he should be along shortly. The boys are a bit short-handed with the suddenness of it all, I'm afraid. Yes, I can imagine. Thank you, Mr. Williford. Are you staying with them presently? No, much as I'd like to. I'm assisting them as best I can with the passing of their father. Rowan insists he's got everything under control, but I wish he'll take more time to mourn properly. I can't imagine what those boys must have felt to see their father in such a horrible state. He shakes his head as if trying to shake an image of his memory. Well, let's talk of happier things for now at least. I'll be happy to show you to the parlor while Rowan finishes his breakfast. Thank you, that would be lovely. He seems like a kindly older gentleman, though I can tell he must be exhausted from the weight of his steps and the dark circles beneath his eyes. I don't doubt that Douglas' death came as a shock to him as well, and he's likely been scrambling to help the twins reconcile all their father's outstanding business and his funeral plans on top of it all. Do Rowan and Helm have no other family? I remember Helm mentioned that his mother died when he was young, though I'm surprised Williford is the only one here to help in the wake of their father's death. Williford guides me past a grand oaken staircase and into a small but pleasant parlor. In contrast to the rather plain front lawn, Douglas clearly spent a great deal of time and effort furnishing this room before his death. His portrait, painted in oils and stretched across a grand canvas, hangs above the mantel. Even after his death, he continues to look over his room and all who pass through it. The latest electrical fixtures adorn the wall, and the chairs are all neatly upholstered, similar to those in his office waiting room. In fact, their patterns and design are identical. I'm not eager to spend long sitting in another of those armchairs waiting alone as the clock ticks onward. Please make yourself comfortable. I'm happy to accompany you here or fetch a refreshment if you like. No, thank you, though. I'm sure Rowan will be along shortly. The walls are largely decorated with newly framed and recently painted works, primarily from local artists doing studies of Laurenburg's coastline or the majesty of the sea at dusk. There is also you need to be kind of adaptable when visualizing this visual novel, because you are seeing one type of text in a way, and then you need to quickly adapt to another text box. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? You kind of need to, maybe you are at home watching this and you are not feeling it, but when you are really yourself reading it, you start to feeling oh, I need to be adaptive in here. I have one text box and I have another, just keep adapting to this thing. All except for the largest painting hanging above the unlit fireplace and dominating the room with its presence. An edged, hand-carved frame barely constrains a canvas nearly as tall as myself. Violent swirls of deep indigo and stark white ooze form the image of an ancient seaside village buried under a suffocating blanket of snow. Every light in every window is blazing, every tree is bowed low against the wind, and in the center of the town it almost looks as if a small child lies frozen and still just a few paces from warmth. It's unnerving, to say the least, beautifully crafted but completely at odds with the rest of the room's decor. Ah, you've noticed the centerpiece, I see. Yes, it's beautiful, though it seems a bit dreadful. It is, of course. Do you know that village there is Laurenburg? The Laurenburg of nearly 3 centuries ago? Do you mean that this is a scene from the city's history? Willie Ford chuckles lightly. He seems thankful for the distraction, grim as it is. I could tell you the story of it if you like to hear. Well, I'm curious. I'll also like to settle business with Rowan sooner rather than later, but I haven't heard so much as a steer from the rest of the household. Yes, please tell me. I didn't originally grow up here, so I'm not well versed in the local history. Ah, yes. This was one of Douglas' favorite stories to tell over fireside chats. I think I remember the meat of it, and if not, at least the bones. So, our families have lived in the area since the earliest days of Laurenburg, perhaps even before its founding, though records of that time are scarce. In those days, the forest stretched nearly to the seaside, and houses were often built from the very trees that were cleared to make way for their foundations. The inlets were always rich with shellfish and other bounty, and I'm sure you've heard of the city's origins as a waypoint for merchants traveling the coastline. It's all but forgotten now, but back then there was a petty quarrel among neighbors that gave several families cause to uproot from their homes in the center of the town and strike out for the heart of the nearby forest. For several weeks, they flitted between the forest's edge and the market square, gathering materials and supplies to last the winter. At first frosts, they loudly announced their departure and that they intended to quit Laurenburg for good. In some stories, it was just a single family, mind you, but in others, there were nearly 50 individuals in the party. I mean, a family could be made of like 50 individuals. You could have that. At any rate, the rest of the village quickly forgot the quarrel that spurred their neighbors to self-imposed exile, and with the chill of winter descending, few people paid the departed group much mind. Now you must understand, if you've not ventured deep within the forests outside of the city, you may not realize just what density of ravines and sheer hillsides can be hidden behind a layer of sparse heather. As with most coastal forests, a deep bog occupies much of the lowest elevations, and so the firm sort of ground with which you might build a house or even pitch a tent is difficult to find there. In these days, we have well-cleared paths and scenic areas for picnicking and excursions, but back then it was largely untrodden and wholly unsettled territory. So you see, we know how things started out for this group, and we know most likely how they ended, but we know very little of what happened during the first 5 weeks of winter before everything came to its dreadful conclusion. As I'm sure you're aware by now, Laurenburg has mild weather most of the year, but we are prone to fierce blizzards coming from the north and terrible storms washing in from the sea or up a river. I honestly feel like I'm reading a book in here. Since the beginning, until at least now, I continue to feel like I am reading a book in here. You know, sometimes you have some dialogues and memories and monologues and stuff like that. I seriously feel like I'm reading a book. That year, a powerful winter storm piled snow deep as you shins across the ground in a single night, and with the winds keeping up through the day, most folks keep indoors until it run its course. It was at the height of the storm, with the wind raging so bitterly it would sting your eyes like vinegar, simply to stand outside, that a child ran out of the forest, trudged through the deep snow, and threw themselves against the nearest storm frame. And I'm saying this because even if you were talking about the history and the story of a place to another person, you wouldn't tell it like this. It was a storm and the weight of the night, and with the wind raging, and a bitterly, and do you understand what I'm trying to say? Even if you were talking about the history of some place, you would never even say it like this, okay? So, I am reading a book, basically. And this is like, I know, I'm sorry, I'm not complaining. I am just saying that there are people that like this type of more westernized visual novel, but I am very used to the Japanese one. And this for me is... it's a bit draining. Let me put it like this. For me, this is draining. I am like, I want to read a book, I go there and I go to my e-reader and I read a book or an audio book, whatever. Do you understand? Like, I set my mind to read a book. Okay? I come here to play a visual game that is mostly visual and has like some kind of script that it's more like probably focused on dialogues between and interactions. Let's call it like that. Interactions between characters. Then actually like basically like reading like narratives and descriptions and stuff like that, you know. Okay. It was dark. I've been like a lot of time in here, and I'm reading a book, honestly. It was dark, but not yet full nightfall, and most of the town folks heard the child's cry for help and pleas for shelter. An innkeeper with a clear doorway brought the child inside as quickly as they could, but the poor thing was suffering from the frostbite in the limbs and odd wounds across their hands and neck. Even stranger was the story the child muttered as they sat bundled by the fireside, a desperate and broken story that you can hear told in a dozen ways if you search the archives, I'm sure. In every version, however, the child said that their parents, the other adults, and every member of their family was gone, taken by fairies of the wood, allegedly. No one present got any greater clarity on the matter, as most were fixed on helping the child recuperate. Unfortunately, the combination of malnourishment, frigid cold, and their still bleeding wound proved fatal. In the spring, a few curious youths forged an expedition into the forest to see what became of the small settlement, but they never found any trace of habitation there. If there weren't such clear records of the events and of that child's return in the midst of the blizzard, it would be more reasonable to assume there was never any attempt to settle in the forest at all. For some time after, tales of creatures and strange beings stalking the trees pervaded the town's imagination. These days, there's little trace of those superstitions beyond nursery rhymes. But this painting is an artifact of that era. I am so bad with nursery rhymes in English. It's like I cannot follow them. Like, they are made for children. And I always feel like I cannot actually follow their meaning. I don't know how to put it. But it's true. Like, there's like a game, which is like completely... out. There's like a game, a Japanese game that they use nursery rhymes, but it's like the it's the nursery rhymes in Japanese, because I mean it's a Japanese game, so you need to read them in Japanese. They are transformed in Japanese, but even as transformed in Japanese, and even if I was like reading them in English, it's like most of the time I cannot even grasp their real meaning, and then I'm like, but nursery rhymes are done for kids. This is so embarrassing, that I cannot get them, and they are made for kids. It's an unsettling piece, yes, but it's deeply ingrained with the history of the town, and perhaps a reminder that even the most brazen vampires have kept shy of the deepest woods throughout the years. My friends, I'm going to tell you something. A few more minutes, I am going to end this demo. Sorry, I'm feeling like I cannot continue. I feel like the game is good. Okay, maybe I'll just stay here. Let's stay here. I'm feeling like the game is good. There was a reason, for instance, this last part. I bet there was a reason for this. And I was reading it, and I was feeling like this story is connected to those twins. When they were talking about the child and the children in there, I think this is very much connected to those kids. So, of course, everything is important in here. But as I told you, I am not the biggest fan of like reading a book in a visual novel. I am not. And I'm already getting kind of like tired about it. Like, this is not me trying to undermine the developers in here in no way. I think the game is good. It has some flaws that I told you about. I mean, you need to adapt to this text box and this serif font and whatever. But in general, I do not think the game is bad. The thing is, you need to come into this type of visual novel game and see it as more of a narrative type of thing than I would say a real otome type of game. Okay, it's feeling different. I am feeling like I'm reading a book in here. So if you are up to that alley, if you like that, I would say that you would probably not even feel it in that way, because English is your native language. You do not feel like you are like straining too much with this type of narrative. But I am feeling that. I am feeling like, okay, I love reading books and all of it, but when I come to play my otome games, I am not waiting to read, to be here reading paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs and paragraphs of narrative. Yeah, so I'm sorry, I'm going to end the demo in here because I'm getting tired too, and I am a bit whimsical today because my day didn't start it very well with a lot of complications that I had with the other game, So I wouldn't say that that I am in my best, that I am at my best right now, because. So I think it was already enough for you to have like an idea of the game, and you do have the demo available on Steam. I don't know if it's available on itch.io too. I don't actually know. And if you, during this time, if you felt like, oh, this is totally my thing, it's right up my alley, I don't see nothing, wrong about it, just try it for yourself. This game is fully released Um, it has some content. Yeah, it's fully released. It's 10% off right now. It's not like the biggest offer right now, but I mean, 10%. It's not that expensive. I mean, sometimes you have even more expensive ones. And I think it seems like a good game. Okay, it seems like a good game. Not the type of game that I like to play, but I think this was already enough as like a demo. I don't know if this has a lot more or not, but I'm also getting tired right now. Okay, so I think we're going to stay here. And I'm sorry if I offended anyone, and I did not meant to offend anyone during this. I am grumpy today, as I told you, like since the morning, because of the other game that honestly kind of got into my mind. So we stay here, and I thank you very much for staying there with me. Okay, and I'll see you the next time. Thank you very much.